Hello and welcome to this month's book review. This month we're reviewing the book The Five Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. It's a #1 New York Times bestseller, and I just really wanted to review why. And it's following on from a love theme about love of God and obviously fellowshipping and what have you. But this particular book is really dedicated to the married couples and couples generally everywhere, really, mainly married ones, really, as I believe that's the focus of the book. Now, my thoughts for choosing this topic or choosing this book was purely based on the fact that a lot of married ministers have been pouring into me and, pouring into a lot of singles. And, very rarely a single get a chance to pour back into them. So this is my pouring back, and it's a gift from me to you. I'm a very happy single. I enjoy my single life. I'm going to tell you that. Unashamedly, I love my own company. I thrive on it. I value it and treasure it. Not to say that being married is a negative thing to do. I'm not saying that at all. I've been married before. It just so turned out that obviously it didn't last the length of time. But I applaud all you married people out there who are still married. I commend you, because obviously that's the design of God for everybody. And purely this book really just came up because, as I said, we dealt with Liquid Love, which is a book purely about the love of the Father, which is the ultimate love, the pure love, which each of us should desire. But this is tailored more like to build up and to edify the body and to help the body. And I'm hoping, really, my prayer tonight, sincerely, is to just hope to help somebody out there, a couple that might be going through a struggle or a challenge. Maybe this book could be the answer. I took a brief glimpse at it, and I'm sure you're going to be pretty much impressed with the contents. So I'm just going to rearrange my screen now, just to expand and then go into the book itself. Okay, so The Five Love Languages, The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. You can see the cover is pretty much positive, of a dancing couple there, obviously joyous, and obviously resolved their differences and found their love again. The book is published by Northfield Publishing in Chicago. You can get it on Amazon. I believe the Kindle version is $7.99, and I believe that the actual hard copy or the paperback copy is about £10 British money. I don't know what that is in dollars. It says obviously all the rights are reserved, no parts may be printed. It's pretty much copyrighted, but the rights are reserved for Zondervan.com. Okay. So who is Gary D. Chapman? I took a brief look at his profile. From what I can see, he's definitely a Christian, and he's a doctor as well. He's been called doctor, and he generally deals with obviously counselling for Christians. He, obviously writes this book based on that thing, on his actual act of counselling. So, and he's obviously married as well. He's certainly married. And it states quite clearly and simply in the fold of the book, we hope you enjoy this book from Northfield Publishing. Our goal is to provide high quality, thought-provoking books and products that connect truth to your real needs and challenges. Okay, moving on. So this book is dedicated to Carolyn, Shelley, and Derek. The Five Love Languages collection. Okay, so it's got obviously other books written in this theme. The Five Love Languages for Men, The Five Love Languages hardcover special edition, The Five Love Languages of Children, The Five Love Languages of Teenagers, The Five Love Languages for Singles, and Five Love Languages Military Edition. And it states quite clearly that for more information about further books on his books, you would go to fivelovelanguages.com. So that's pretty simple, isn't it? Okay, so diving into the contents of this book, apart from the acknowledgements, we have chapter 1, which is entitled What Happens to Love After the Wedding. Chapter 2, Keeping the Love Tank Full. Chapter 3, Falling in Love. And chapter 4, Love Language number 1, Words of Affirmation. Chapter number 5, Love Language number 2, Quality Time. Chapter number 6, Love Language number 3, Receiving Gifts. Chapter number 7, Love Language number 4, Acts of Service. Chapter 7, Love Language number, sorry, that was chapter 7. Chapter 8, Love Languages number 5, Physical Touch. Okay. And then chapter 9, Discovering Your Primary Love Language. Chapter 10, Love is a Choice. Chapter 11, Love Makes a Difference. Chapter 12, Loving the Unlovely. Chapter 13, A Personal Word. So basically, if you were just curious, just to find out what the 5 love languages were, you could just, let's probably say at this point, I don't need to listen anymore. I've heard what the 5 love languages are. But I'd like to obviously go a bit more into the book because, all right, the title's there, it's been stated, but really, is it what it's stated? Perhaps you delve in a bit more and give you a bit more meat on this book. So once again, it was number 1 was the words of affirmation. Number 2 was quality time. Number 3 was receiving gifts. Number 4, acts of service. Number 5, physical touch. Okay, so let's get straight into the book. Okay, so chapter 13, it says a personal word. Then we've got frequently asked questions. And then it talks about the 5 love languages profile for couples for him and the 5 love languages profile for couples for her. And then some notes at the end of the book. It says, for a free online study guide, please visit fivelovelanguages.com. So you can actually get a free study guide with this. This group discussion guide is designed to both help couples apply the concepts from the 5 love languages and stimulate genuine dialogue among study groups. So it's obviously a book that can be shared with many couples who decide to do, say, a training course on marriage. I don't know really why I don't just use this book in that format to perhaps create one for you guys. However, I think it's a good thing to just really just voice the book. You can pick it up independently and read it yourself. Okay. So, acknowledgements. Love begins or should begin at home. For me, that means Sam and Grace, Dad and Mum. Without them, I would still be seeking love instead of writing about it. Home also means Carolyn. If all wives loved as she does, fewer men would be looking over the fence. That's a pretty bold statement, isn't it? Okay, so man is sure of his wife there. Shelley and Derek are now out of the nest, exploring new worlds, but I feel secure in the warmth of their love. I'm blessed and grateful. I'm indebted to a host of professionals who have influenced my concepts of love. Among them are psychiatrists Ross Campbell and Judson Sweart. For editorial assistance, I'm indebted to Debbie Barr, Kathy Peterson, and Betsy Neweyes. The technical expertise of Tricia Cube and Don Schmidt made it possible to meet publication deadlines. Last and most important, I want to express my gratitude to the hundreds of couples who over the years have shared the intimate side of their lives. Bear with me one moment. Okay, one moment. Yes, I'm sure he means with him. Okay. With me, yeah. This book is a tribute to their honesty. Okay. Then he states let's see, it says here, what happens to love after the wedding? Okay, so that's um, chapter 1. At 30,000 feet, somewhere between Buffalo and Dallas, he put his magazine in his seat pocket, turned in my direction and asked, what kind of work do you do? I do marriage counseling and lead marriage enrichment seminars. I said matter of factly, I've been wanting to ask someone this for a long time. He said, what happens to the love after you get married? Relinquishing my hopes of getting a nap, I asked, what do you mean? Well, he said, I've been married 3 times, and each time it was wonderful before we got married, but somehow after the wedding, it all fell apart. All the love I thought I had for her and the love she seemed to have for me evaporated. I'm a fairly intelligent person. I operate a successful business, but I don't understand it. How long were you married? I asked. The first one lasted about 10 years. The second time, we were married for 3 years, and the last one, almost 6 years. Okay. Did your love evaporate immediately after the wedding, or was it a gradual loss? I inquired. Well, the second one went wrong from the very beginning. I don't know what happened. I really thought we loved each other, but the honeymoon was a disaster, and we never recovered. We only dated 6 months. It was a whirlwind romance. It was really exciting, but after the marriage, it was a battle from the beginning. In my first marriage, we had 3 or 4 good years before the baby came. After the baby was born, I felt like she gave her attention to the baby and I no longer mattered. It was as if her one goal in life was to have a baby, and after the baby, she no longer needed me. Did you tell her that? I asked. Yes, I told her. She said I was crazy. She said I did not understand the stress of being a 24-hour nurse. She said I should be more understanding and help her more. I really tried, but it didn't seem to make any difference. After that, we just grew further apart after a while. There was no love left, just deadness. Both of us agreed that the marriage was over. Okay, I just shifted my screen there a bit. My last marriage, I my last marriage, I really thought that one would be different. I had been divorced for 3 years. We dated each other for 2 years. I really thought we knew what we were doing. And I thought that perhaps for the first time, I really knew what it meant to love someone. I generally felt that she loved me. After the wedding, I don't think I changed. I continued to express love to her as I had before marriage. I told her how beautiful she was. I told her how much I loved her. I told her how proud I was to be her husband. But a few months after marriage, she started complaining about petty things first, like my not taking the garbage out. Or, give me one moment, like not taking the garbage out or not hanging up my clothes. Later, she went to attacking my character, telling me she didn't feel she could trust me, accusing me of not being faithful to her. She became a totally negative person. Sounds familiar to some of you? Okay, before marriage, she was never negative. She was one of the most positive people I've ever met. That's one of the things that attracted me to her. She never complained about anything. Everything I did was wonderful, but once we were married, it seemed I could do nothing right. I honestly don't know what happened. Eventually, I lost my love for her and began to resent her. She obviously had no love Bear me one moment. She obviously had no love for me. We agreed there was no benefit to our living together any longer, so we split. That was a year ago. So my question is, what happens to love after the wedding? Is my experience common? Is that why we have so many divorces in our country? Okay. I can't believe that it happened to me 3 times. And those who don't divorce, do they learn to live with the emptiness, or does love really stay alive in some marriages? That's a question I'd like answering. I think that really sort of, that's really something I think I would like to, especially being one of those that wasn't the one that stuck in it. So, yeah. So if so, how? The question my friend seated in 5A was asking are the questions that sounds thousands of married and divorced persons are asking today. That's right, that's correct. Some are asking friends, some are asking counselors and clergy, and some are asking themselves. Sometimes the answers are couched in psychological research jargon that is almost incomprehensible. Sometimes they are couched in humour and folklore. Most of the jokes and pithy sayings contain some truth, but they are like offering an aspirin to a person with cancer. The desire for romantic love in marriage is deeply rooted in our psychological makeup. Books abound on the subject. Television and radio talk shows deal with it. The internet is full of advice. So are our parents and friends and churches. Keeping love alive in our marriage is serious business. With all the help available from media experts, why is it that so few couples seem to have found the secret to keeping love alive after the wedding? Why is it that a couple can attend a communication workshop, hear wonderful ideas on how to enhance communication, return home, and find themselves totally unable to implement the communication patterns demonstrated? How is it that we read something online on 101 ways to express love to your spouse, select 2 or 3 ways that seem especially that seem especially helpful, and try them, and our spouse doesn't even acknowledge our effort, we give up on the other 98 ways and go back to life as usual. The truth we're missing. The answer to those questions is the purpose of this book. It is not that the books and the articles already published are not helpful. The problem is that we have overlooked one fundamental truth. People speak different love languages. My academic training is in the area of anthropology. Therefore, I have studied in the area of linguistics, which identifies a number of major language groups: Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, English, Portuguese, Arabic, Greek, German, French, and so on. Most of us grow up learning a language of our parents and siblings, which becomes our primary or native tongue. Later, we may learn additional languages, but usually with much more effort. These become our secondary languages. I'm going to pause there for a moment. That question he asked about what happens to married couples who stick together, it's been on my mind, but I feel there can be an element whereby it causes they're sticking together. If they don't get proper counseling, can become toxic when they're around other people, because the impact of married couples, I would say, not being particularly happy and being frustrated or bored with their married lives could be quite disastrous and disturbing on others, affecting others' peace, unwanted, unnecessary affairs, bringing people into their argument when really they should be resolving it themselves and their issues before bringing their toxicity out to others. I mean, that's obviously another area. That's where if you don't get counselling and deal with what you're going through in a loving way and choose the carnal, negative way out of flirting with others and bringing others into a situation which they should never be brought into without you making a decision to either split beforehand rather than doing what you're doing. Because immediately, I think if you feel that you want to go and date someone else, that's a sign you need counseling, because clearly that's against what God intended for marriage, and it is against God. It's a sin really to be thinking even of doing anything other than what you were vowing to do with your partner. Okay, so yeah, I'm just speaking as one. Objectively, that's really what you need to do, and through the counseling, we're hoping you will be gelled back together rather than have to split. And if you gel back together, you gel back in a healing, natural, spiritual way, through God, through the help of our Lord, and make your marriage stronger. Otherwise, if the really is the case, you're going to go off and do what you'll say you're doing, please do use some decorum and exercise to really just sever the relationship, because it's ridiculous. You can't have a three-way relationship. You know, it's exhausting, it's negative, it's childish, and not only that, it does hurt people, not just your partner, yourselves, but the other person as well have to have that impact of this craziness, this crazy situation. And then obviously somebody can get hurt, even killed in the midst of it. Why bring others into this toxic situation when you could be adults and deal with it in a safe way? Okay, everybody's entitled to their peace. Having said that, I mean, I know full well that once you've had a taste of what it's like to be independent, living on your own, and then you get into, say, marriage where you've got your kids and you got your wife and that, and you're used to, you know what it's like being a bachelor, say, or a female knows what it's like being a, not an unmarried, a bachelorette or whatever have you. To daydream about those times is quite dangerous. So that's why it's a good thing, I think, sometimes if you've not had that period on your own before, in terms of living independently before being married. That's my philosophy, because then you're not tempted to just exit and bail out without really trying and doing the right thing by your partner. So right, so continuing, we speak and understand best our native language. We feel most comfortable speaking that language. The more we use a secondary language, the more comfortable we become conversing in it. If we speak only our primary language and enter someone else who speaks only his or her primary language, which is different from ours, our communication will be limited. We must rely on pointing, grunting, drawing pictures, or acting out our ideas. We can communicate, but it is awkward. Language differences are part. Give me one moment. Okay. Language differences are part and parcel of human culture. If we are to communicate effectively across cultural lines, we must learn the language of those with whom we wish to communicate. Exactly. Communication's everything. Things can get misunderstood and offences can be actually taken. So it's good to be clear and to understand each other's language. That's obviously the first vital point, you know. And in the area of love, it is similar. Your emotional love language and the language of your spouse may be as different as Chinese from English. No matter how hard you try to express love in English, if your spouse understands only Chinese, you will never understand how to love each other. My friend on the plane was speaking the language of affirming words to his third wife when he said, I told her how beautiful she was. I told her I loved her. I told her how proud I was to be her husband. He was speaking love and he was sincere, but she did not understand his language. Perhaps she was looking for love in his behavior and didn't see it. Being sincere is not enough. We must be willing to learn our spouse's primary love language if we are to be effective communicators of love. My conclusion, after many years of marriage counseling, is that there are 5 emotional love languages, 5 ways that people speak and understand emotional love. In the field of linguistics, a language may have numerous dialects or variations. Similarly, within the 5 basic emotional love languages, there are many dialects. The number of ways to express love within a love language is limited only by one's imagination. The important thing to speak the love language of your spouse. That's what it is to do. Seldom do a husband and wife have the same primary. In a moment, we'll go to the next page. Love language. And we become confused when our spouse does not understand what we are communicating. We're expressing our love, but the message does not come through because we are speaking what to them is a foreign language. Therein lies the fundamental problem. And it is the purpose of this book to offer a solution. That is why I dare to write another book on love. Once we discover the 5 basic love languages and understand our own primary love language, as well as the primary love language of our spouse, we will then have the needed information to apply the ideas in the books and articles. Once you identify and learn to speak your spouse's primary love language, I believe that you will have discovered the key to a long-lasting, loving marriage. Love need not evaporate after the wedding, but in order to keep it alive, most of us will have to put forth the effort to learn a secondary love language. We cannot rely on our native language if our spouse, oh dear, okay, if our spouse does not understand it. If we want them to feel the love we are trying to communicate, we must express it in the primary love language. And then it says your turn. Okay, let's go to the your turn bit. How does your spouse respond when you try to show affection? So that's the question. Obviously, it's prompting action and discussion amongst the group. And that essentially was chapter 1. Chapter 2 talks about keeping your love tank full. So you've heard the gist or the style of the writing of this book, and you heard the questions already that are coming up, and what the authors had to say about his experiences, etc., with people who he's spoken to. So it's really entirely up to you. You've heard what needs to be done. If you are in a relationship and you feel that your marriage needs just a little bit of a rocket fuel to just help it along, this may be the book for you. So do feel free to obviously get it. Okay, once again, the title is The 5 Languages, the 5 Love Languages. Okay, so this book, as I said, costs £7.99 on the Kindle edition, and it's about £10 or so, just over £10 in on the hard cover, or just the actual soft cover. So it's the 5 love languages. So okay, and the subtitle is The Secret to Love That Lasts. Okay, so once again, I think that's this book really. I'm intrigued, and I'm somebody who's not married, and I'm happy being single. I really love being single. In fact, I love sometimes I think I love my own company too much, and I think to a lot of people looking on the outside, I think, doesn't she ever get lonely? And I'm thinking, no, there's always so much to do, and I enjoy my own company, and I just, without sounding too big-headed, I love myself, and I enjoy my company. I just really do. So this one, as I said, is just sharing with you married couples. You've been pouring into me, and this one for you. I hope you enjoy reading it together and sharing it with your friends and families who are married, and and all the people you know, do give me your feedback. I'd love to hear what you thought of this review, as well as your experiences of reading this book. Once again, you can pick it up on Amazon. You know, it seems like a delightful book. It's easy to read and it's entertaining already. I mean, already it's got me gripped, and I'm sure it's got a lot of you gripped. And it does pose some really important questions that I think a lot of husbands and wives should actually ask each other and delve through. So without further ado, that was this month. So I hope you enjoyed this month's review. And if you obviously liked it, please do leave your comments and then let me know what you think. I'm really looking forward to that. Comments are so important. All right. So there you go. Take care until next month.